Bastion is the first ever kinetic fusion rifle in Destiny 2, and it has been available for the past 2 weeks from the Corridors of Time quest that you can get from Osiris. This is going away as of today, and from now on you'll be able to get the quest straight from Scene 14 instead of having to go through about 40 different rooms in the Corridors of Time in order to get the quest. The only thing you will be missing out now, since you only have to go to Scene 14 to get the quest, is you'll miss out a trip up to the Guardian's grave and a wee snippet of a speech that Scene 14 gives at our funeral. You should be able to see this online, or you'll be able to watch the video, but I don't have any audio, so that's a bit of a downside.
Thank you for coming. We've gathered here today to celebrate the life of my mentor, my inspiration. Hero of the Red War. The man who avenged Gate 6. He had 100 times I cannot recall. And he died doing what he does best, defending the last city of humanity. Ages ago, he saved my life, and then inspired me to save myself. I am glad that he did, because travel will help us. He is gone. There is no one to save. On the day we met, I decided I would follow his example. I'm still trying. I've marked this grave with one of his favorite weapons, shattered in that final confrontation. It used to be mine. All who find what we've left here, please leave it be. Unless you're still in there somewhere. You've performed miracles before. In which case, take it and come back to us, and we'll kill what killed you, or die trying.
The actual quest steps to get Bastion are pretty straightforward. The first step, of course, being go to the Corridors of Time. However, you don't need to do this anymore. The main step is go to Scene 14 and pick up the quest and then speak to him. He then tells you to go and kill 5 fallen captains or servitors in the Tangled Shore. These cannot be bosses, they have to be just normal captains or servitors. The fastest way to complete this step in my experience was to go to Thieves Landing in the Tangled Shore and just kill any servitor that spawns around there. There is a servitor that keeps spawning there, so if you just wait around every couple of minutes there'll be another one that spawns. Or, while you're waiting, you can go into the Club Lost Sector, the Fallen Club Lost Sector beside Spider's hideout, and there's one that spawned right in the first room, and you can just keep running in there and killing it over and over again. So that's probably the quickest way to do it. After that, you then have to go and speak to Spider, and he tells you to go back to that same Lost Sector and complete it basically. So when you get to the very end, right before you defeat the boss, another boss comes out and you kill that boss. That's the boss you actually need to kill in order to get this step completed. You then run through the Lost Sector as normal, go out of the Lost Sector, and then you have to kill 30 challenging enemies, complete 10 spider bounties, and also complete 10 public events in the Tangled Shore. Now, the 10 spider bounties isn't too difficult to do. However, the best way to do this, if you haven't got a stockpile of ghost fragments, you should go and do the public events first. However, if you do heroic public events, it counts as 2 public events, so you either do 10 public events or 5 heroic public events. So You do get 2 ghost fragments for a heroic public event and 1 for normal public events, so you can be missing out on any ghost fragments and just begin the step done quicker. The transferring enemies you can do during the public events anyway, so you don't need to worry about that. The longest part of this step is the spider bounties. Step 8 is then investigating a grave in the Trapper's Cave Lost sector at Warhorn Gulch. Once you investigate that, you then have to go back to Spider and he tells you to complete a different version of the Hollowed Lair Strike, where the only difference is when you get to the boss room, you have to kill a different boss and then you have to kill a fanatic again. So that's the only difference, and it is match made, so there is matchmaking and it is only 750 light, so it isn't even that difficult. And then you return to Scene 14 and you get the exotic fusion rifle Bastion. So that's the steps for the quest. They're pretty straightforward, didn't take me very long, and they're pretty easy to do. There are 2 main perks that Bastion has, and the first perk is Saint's Fists. This perk says, charge to fire 3 spreads of kinetic slugs. The main feature of this weapon is that it's a kinetic fusion rifle, and that it shoots 3 big bolts whenever you charge it up. And these bolts do a considerable amount of damage, however, it probably needs to do a bit more damage than it actually does, and the damage fall off is pretty close. So you can really only do good damage up close. So it's a bit of an issue, but I'm hoping that they will buff it. The second perk is Breakthrough, and what this says is a portion of this weapon's damage bypasses elemental shields. This means that if you go up to, let's say, a fallen captain and it's got a solar shield, whenever you shoot it with your Bastion, some of the damage will just go straight through the shield and damage the captain directly, which is a pretty nice feature. However, in my experience, not much damage goes through, but it is still a nice perk to have. The main perk, of course, is firing 3 slugs, Saint's Fists. The lore for this weapon is kind of interesting. It's basically just a letter from the speaker to Scene 14, where Scene 14 addresses the speaker as his father and the speaker addresses Scene 14 as his son. So it's just a wee snippet of a message, I'm assuming, that was left on Bastion, and that's about it. However, the lore behind the weapon, as in between us and Scene 14, is pretty cool, as opposed to the lore with the weapon. So basically, with Perfect Paradox, we obviously go into the Infinite Forest and we find Scene 14's grave. We take Perfect Paradox from Scene 14's grave, we repair it in the Infinite Forge, we use it for a while, and then we hand it to Scene 14 whenever we find him in the past, using the Corridors of Time. He then continues to use Perfect Paradox, and then supposedly he dies in the Infinite Forest with the Perfect Paradox, and then we go back to his grave and pick it up, and the cycle continues. So it's just a ever-looping thing where the Perfect Paradox doesn't have a beginning or an end, it's just stuck in this constant loop. However, of course, now we've saved Scene 14, so it's not quite the same thing. However, Bastion is a similar idea, in that we obviously find Bastion from our grave, because we were buried with Bastion. We pick up Bastion from our grave in the Corridors of Time, we take it to Scene 14, we obviously get it repaired, we do this quest, and then we use it, we die with it, and then we go and we pick it up from our grave, and we get it fixed, and we die with it, then we pick it up, and it's just an infinite loop. Of course, the starting point for this is that it was Scene 14's weapon, and he gave it to us. The weapon obviously fits the season's theme, in that it is a weapon of Scene 14, and it looks very, very similar to the time loss weapons you can get from the obelisks that you can find on the different planets. The ornament also looks pretty cool, and it replaces the blue sections of the weapon with red sections, and it also makes the bird on the end of the weapon look a bit bigger, so it looks pretty cool. I'm not sure I would pay silver for it, however, if it were to become available via Bright Dust, I probably would get it, and I think it looks pretty cool. For PvE, the weapon is good, however, it's not amazing. If I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, of course, Loaded Question, because it is basically the best DPS fusion rifle in the game, that is energy, or that is a secondary weapon, I would say that it is about an 8 compared to Loaded Question at a 10. Considering the Bastion is an exotic, I would like to think it would be better than Loaded Question. However, obviously Bastion is more unique than Loaded Question, in that Loaded Question is just a better version of one of the Vanguard fusion rifles, whereas Bastion is obviously the first ever kinetic fusion rifle, and it has unique perks, and it fires slugs, and it does a bit of damage through shields, and it's got all these nice exotic perks, and obviously Bastion's more unique than Loaded Question, but Loaded Question does more damage. So it's a question of, do you want to have fun, or do you want to do damage? So the big thing here is that you're not going to be competing. These two weapons don't compete for the energy slot because one's a kinetic, one's an energy obviously, so you can kind of, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be kind of using Bastion as a kinetic loaded question, so as I can use energy primaries. However, of course, I can't use exotic primaries then, but that's besides the point. Basically, the gameplay, I'm playing a Nightfall the Ordeal, so it doesn't look like it's doing very much damage. However, it's pretty good. It's just I'm doing a Nightfall Ordeal with the damage obviously is less because the enemies have more health and they're a bit more resistant and stuff. So from my experience in PvE, it is pretty decent. It isn't better than Looted Question, however it is more unique and I think it's definitely fun and worth it to get the gun. In Gambit, it actually is a bit better than in normal activities. First off, most of the encounters you're going to have in Gambit are at close range, close to medium range. This weapon is best up close. It is trash at a range, or even a medium range, but up close it is amazing. So it definitely shines up close. I would recommend just, if you ever get into an engagement at a range, don't use Bastion because it's trash, but up close it is more than viable and it is pretty good. In Gambit, it one-shot invaders as well, and it takes about 3 to 4 shots for captains and about 4 to 5 shots for knights in terms of blockers. Obviously one-shots goblins because they don't have very much health. But overall, in Gambit, I give it my seal of approval. It's pretty fun to use and it is actually pretty decent. In Crucible, I haven't used it and I don't plan on playing Crucible for a while because I've just switched over to PC, so I'm not quite used to playing PC yet. However, from what I've seen on Reddit and Twitter and that sort of thing, this weapon is used the most in Crucible out of any other game mode. Therefore, I would say if you're getting this weapon and you want to use it properly, Crucible is probably the game mode for you, because it seems to shine in Crucible, and judging by my experience in Gambit where one-shot invaders, I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't one-shot the Guardian in Crucible either, so I think it shines in Crucible. Overall, I would say that the weapon is very worthwhile to get. The quest isn't too difficult to complete, it doesn't take too long to get it either, and the lore behind it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool looking weapon and it's pretty fun to use as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye.